In the year 563 BC, a prince was born into absolute luxury. His father, a king, built 3 palaces for him, one for summer, one for winter, one for the rainy season. The prince was surrounded by dancers, musicians, servants attending his every desire. He married a beautiful woman, had a son, lived in paradise behind palace walls designed to shield him from a single thing: suffering. His father had received a prophecy that his son would either become a great king or a great spiritual teacher. The king wanted the first option, so he constructed an artificial world where pain didn't exist, where aging was invisible, where sickness never appeared, where death was never mentioned. The prince lived in this illusion for 29 years, and then one day he left the palace, and what he saw destroyed him. First, he saw an old man, bent, wrinkled, struggling to walk. The prince had never seen aging before. He asked his charioteer, "What happened to that man?" The charioteer answered, "Old age happens to everyone, including you." Then he saw a sick person, diseased, suffering, groaning in pain. "What is this?" the prince asked. "Sickness," the charioteer said. "It comes to everyone. No one escapes." Then he saw a corpse being carried to cremation, and the prince understood. Death, the final truth his father had hidden. Everything he loved would die. His wife, his son, himself, all of it temporary, all of it doomed. The prince returned to the palace that night, but he couldn't stay, because once you see suffering, you can't unsee it. Once you know impermanence, pleasure becomes hollow. Once you understand death, the game of life reveals itself as exactly that, a game with no winners. So, at 29 years old, Prince Siddhartha abandoned everything: his kingdom, his wealth, his wife, his newborn son. He walked out in the middle of the night and never returned. And what he discovered in the next 6 years would become the foundation of Buddhism, the path to ending all suffering, not by avoiding it, not by transcending it through pleasure or power or meaning, but by understanding its nature so completely that attachment itself dissolves. This is the teaching they don't tell you in yoga studios or mindfulness apps. This is the real Buddha, the one who saw that existence itself is the problem, and that the only solution is radical letting go. Before we go deeper into what Buddha actually taught, understand something. What you're about to hear isn't self-help. It isn't positive thinking. It isn't be present and everything will be okay. Buddha's teaching is darker than that, more honest than that. It starts with a truth most spiritual systems try to avoid. Life is suffering. Not sometimes, not for unlucky people, always, for everyone, built into the structure of existence itself. If you're ready to face that truth without flinching, if you want to understand what Buddha actually discovered under that tree, then subscribe to the Hidden Codex. Turn on notifications. Because what we're exploring tonight isn't comfortable Buddhism. It's the original teaching, unfiltered. And it will change how you see everything. Now let's continue. After leaving the palace, Siddhartha tried everything. First, he studied with the greatest meditation masters of his time. He learned to enter states of consciousness so deep he could barely be distinguished from dead. Profound peace, absolute stillness. But when he came out of meditation, the suffering returned. The peace was temporary, conditional, dependent on maintaining the meditative state, so he rejected that path. Then he turned to extreme asceticism. He stopped eating, reduced his food intake to a single grain of rice per day. His body became skeletal. He could touch his spine through his stomach. He pushed himself to the edge of death, believing that punishing the body would free the spirit. It didn't. He nearly died and gained nothing. So he rejected that path too. Finally, he sat down under a tree and made a vow. He would not move until he understood, until he penetrated the nature of suffering completely, until he found the way out. He sat for 49 days, meditating, observing, going deeper into consciousness than anyone had gone before. And on the 49th night, something shifted. He saw it, the entire mechanism, the structure of suffering, why it exists, how it operates, and, most importantly, how to dismantle it completely. When he stood up from under that tree, he was no longer Siddhartha. He was Buddha, the awakened one, and what he taught for the next 45 years was the most radical psychology of suffering ever articulated. Buddha's first teaching is called the Four Noble Truths, and the first truth is this: life is dukkha, usually translated as suffering, but dukkha means something more subtle: unsatisfactoriness, incompleteness, the sense that something is always slightly wrong, even in pleasure, even in success, even in love. There's an underlying current of unease, of impermanence, of inevitable loss. You get what you want and it doesn't satisfy as much as you hoped, or it satisfies briefly, then fades. Or you get it and immediately start worrying about losing it. You don't get what you want and you suffer the lack. You get what you don't want and you suffer the presence. And even when everything is going well, there's the knowledge that it won't last, that this too will pass. That entropy is always working, breaking down, moving toward dissolution. Buddha looked at human experience and saw that we're never quite at peace, never fully satisfied, always grasping for something, always avoiding something, always in subtle conflict with what is. And this isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's built into the structure of conditioned existence. You are a biological organism designed to survive. Survival requires constant vigilance, constant assessment of threat and opportunity, constant movement toward pleasure and away from pain. You can never stop, never rest, never be complete, because completion means death. So you're trapped in perpetual becoming, perpetual dissatisfaction, perpetual dukkha. And most people never see this clearly. They think the problem is their circumstances. If I just get that job, that relationship, that house, that achievement, then I'll be satisfied. Then I'll be at peace. But Buddha saw that this is delusion, because satisfaction is temporary by nature. You achieve the goal, and within days or weeks or months, you're dissatisfied again, seeking the next thing, the next achievement, the next hit of temporary fulfillment. You're on a hedonic treadmill that never stops, and you can't step off by getting more things on the treadmill. You can only step off by seeing the treadmill for what it is. This is the first noble truth, and it's not pessimism. It's diagnosis, like a doctor identifying a disease. You can't cure what you won't acknowledge. And most people won't acknowledge that suffering is inherent. They keep believing that the right arrangement of circumstances will bring lasting peace. Buddha is saying, it won't, it can't, because the problem isn't circumstances. The problem is deeper, which brings us to the second noble truth, the origin of suffering. Where does dukkha come from? Buddha's answer is precise: tanha, usually translated as craving or thirst, but it means something more fundamental. It's the grasping quality of mind, the constant reaching for experience, the inability to let things be as they are. You experience something pleasant and immediately want it to continue, want more of it, want to possess it permanently. That's craving. You experience something unpleasant and immediately want it to stop, want it gone, want to never experience it again. That's also craving, just in reverse. Craving for non-existence rather than existence. but both are forms of grasping. Both are refusal to accept reality as it is. And beneath all craving, Buddha identified something even deeper, the illusion of self. You believe you are a solid, continuous, independent entity, a self that persists through time, a subject experiencing objects, an I that has experiences, possesses things, makes choices. But Buddha looked closely at this I and couldn't find it. He found thoughts arising and passing, sensations appearing and disappearing, emotions flowing and changing, perceptions forming and dissolving, but no central self, no permanent witness, no solid core, just a stream of experiences with no experiencer, a process with no entity at the center. This is anatta, no self, and it's the most radical claim in Buddha's teaching. You don't have a self. You are not a self. What you call I is a convenient fiction, a linguistic habit. A story consciousness tells itself, but it's not real, not in the way you think it is. And this illusion of self is what drives craving, because I wants to survive, wants to be happy, wants to avoid pain, wants to be special, important, permanent. The entire structure of suffering is built on this non-existent foundation. You suffer because you identify with a self that doesn't actually exist. You protect an ego that's just a pattern of thoughts. You grasp at experiences to feed an identity that's fundamentally empty. And the more you grasp, the more you suffer. Because grasping is inherently painful. It's tension, contraction, resistance to what is. Buddha saw this mechanism completely, and he saw that it could be dismantled. Which brings us to the third noble truth. Suffering can end. Not temporarily, not conditionally, but completely, permanently. There is a state beyond suffering. Buddha called it nirvana, literally meaning blowing out or extinguishing. What gets extinguished? Not consciousness, not awareness, but craving, grasping, the desperate clutching at experience that creates dukkha. When craving ceases completely, suffering ceases completely. And what remains? Buddha rarely described it directly, because it's beyond words, beyond concepts, beyond the dualistic framework of pleasure and pain, existence and non-existence, self and other. But he did say this: it is peace, unconditioned peace, not the peace that depends on circumstances being a certain way, but peace that persists regardless of circumstances, because it's not based on anything, not caused by anything, not dependent on anything. It's the natural state when all grasping stops, when all resistance dissolves, when consciousness rests in itself without trying to be anything or get anywhere. This is liberation, and Buddha claimed it's achievable, provable, verifiable through direct experience. You don't have to believe him. You can test it yourself, which brings us to the fourth noble truth, the path to the end of suffering. And this is where Buddhism becomes practical, where philosophy becomes method. Buddha outlined 8 aspects of practice. He called it the Noble Eightfold Path, and it's not a linear sequence. It's 8 interdependent factors that develop together, supporting each other, reinforcing each other, leading gradually to the complete cessation of suffering. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Let's look at what these actually mean. Right view is understanding the 4 noble truths, seeing clearly that life is suffering, that craving causes suffering, that suffering can end, and that there's a path to that end. This isn't belief, it's direct perception. You look at your experience and see these truths operating in real time. Right intention is the commitment to let go, to move toward liberation rather than toward more grasping. to choose renunciation over acquisition, harmlessness over aggression, compassion over selfishness. This is the motivational foundation, the direction you point your life. Right speech means speaking truthfully, not lying, not using speech to manipulate or harm, not engaging in idle chatter that strengthens delusion. Every word either moves you toward clarity or toward confusion, toward liberation, toward more suffering. Choose carefully. Right action means behaving ethically, not killing, not stealing, not engaging in sexual misconduct, not because some external authority commands it, but because harmful actions strengthen the illusion of self. They reinforce the belief that you are a separate entity whose desires matter more than others' well-being. Every harmful action deepens suffering, both for others and for yourself. Right livelihood means earning your living in a way that doesn't cause harm. Don't make your living through deception, exploitation, or activities that increase suffering. Your work either supports liberation or obstructs it. There's no neutral ground. Right effort means applying energy skillfully, preventing unwholesome mental states from arising, abandoning unwholesome mental states that have arisen, cultivating wholesome mental states that haven't arisen yet, maintaining wholesome mental states that are present. This is active work, not passive acceptance. You're training the mind like you'd train a muscle, deliberately, consistently, intelligently. Right mindfulness is continuous awareness of what's actually happening, awareness of body, awareness of feelings, awareness of mind, awareness of mental phenomena, not thinking about experience, but directly observing it as it arises and passes. This is the core practice, the heart of Buddha's method, because mindfulness reveals impermanence, and seeing impermanence directly undermines attachment. Right concentration is the ability to focus consciousness completely on a single object, to develop deep states of meditative absorption where the mind becomes unified, still, powerful. These states aren't the goal, but they're tools. They develop the mental strength needed to see deeply, to penetrate the illusions that ordinary consciousness can't touch. This is the path. Not easy, not quick. Buddha said it requires lifetimes of practice for most people, but achievable, verifiable, real. And the core of the practice is mindfulness, because mindfulness reveals the three characteristics of all conditioned existence: impermanence, suffering, no self. Let's look at each. Impermanence is anicca. Everything changes. Everything. Not just obviously impermanent things like flowers or bodies or civilizations, but everything. Your thoughts change. Your emotions change. Your sense of self changes. Your awareness itself is a flowing process. Nothing solid, nothing stable, nothing you can hold on to. And when you see this directly, not conceptually but experientially, something shifts. You stop trying to grasp what can't be grasped. You stop trying to make permanent what is inherently impermanent. The desperate clutching relaxes. Suffering is dukkha. All conditioned experience is unsatisfactory, because all conditioned experience depends on causes and conditions. It arises. It persists briefly. It passes away. You can never freeze it. Never possess it permanently. Never make it do what you want forever. So there's always subtle frustration, subtle disappointment, subtle suffering woven into the fabric of experience itself. And when you see this clearly, you stop expecting conditioned existence to deliver what it cannot deliver. You stop demanding that life be other than it is. The resistance softens. No self is anatta. When you look closely at experience, you can't find a self. You find sensations in the body, thoughts in the mind, emotions arising and passing. but no central you having these experiences. Just the experiences themselves, happening, no one doing them, no witness separate from what's witnessed, just a flow of phenomena, empty of inherent self-nature. And when you see this deeply enough, the fundamental delusion collapses. Because who is there to suffer? Who is there to crave? Who is there to be liberated? The questions themselves lose meaning, because the one asking them doesn't exist in the way it thinks it does. This is the insight that liberates, not belief in no self, but direct seeing of no self. And Buddha was clear. This can't be understood intellectually. It must be experienced, must be verified in your own consciousness, through practice, through observation, through the gradual dismantling of the illusions you have been operating under your entire life. Now, here's where Buddha's teaching becomes truly radical, because most spiritual traditions offer you something: eternal life, union with God, cosmic consciousness, transcendence. Buddha offers you nothing. In fact, he takes away everything. He takes away yourself. He takes away the possibility of permanent satisfaction. He takes away the hope that things will be different later. He shows you that what you are seeking doesn't exist, that what you think you are is illusory, that the entire project of becoming, achieving, attaining is based on a misunderstanding so fundamental that the only solution is to see through it completely. This is why Buddha's teaching is difficult, not because it's complex, but because it requires giving up the one thing you've been clutching your entire existence, the belief that you exist as a separate, continuous self that can be improved, perfected, made happy. Buddha is saying that self is the problem, and you can't fix the problem by improving the self. You can only fix it by seeing that the self isn't there. This is terrifying to contemplate, because if there's no self, then who are you? If there's no permanent identity, then what persists? If there's no separate entity, then what is this experience? Buddha's answer: just experience. Just phenomena arising and passing. Just consciousness flowing. No one experiencing it. Just experiencing itself. And when you see this, when you really see it, the grasping stops. Because there's no one to grasp, no one to protect, no one to improve, no one to liberate. The entire structure of suffering collapses, not because you achieved something, but because you saw through the illusion that there was ever anyone to achieve anything. This is nirvana, not a place you go, not a state you attain, but the recognition of what's always been true, that there is no self, there never was. Suffering was always based on a mistake, and when the mistake is seen clearly, suffering simply ceases, like a dream ending when you wake up. The dream didn't go anywhere. It just wasn't real to begin with. Now, let's talk about what this means practically, because Buddha didn't just teach abstract philosophy. He gave concrete instructions, methods, practices you can apply today. The core practice is mindfulness meditation, and it's simpler than you think. You sit, you pay attention to breathing. When the mind wanders, you notice it wandered and return attention to breath. That's it. No special state to achieve. No mystical experience to chase. Just repeatedly bringing attention back to present moment experience. Again and again and again. Why is this so powerful? Because it trains you to see the mind's actual behavior. You notice how thoughts arise automatically, how emotions appear without your choosing them, how the sense of I is just another thought appearing in consciousness. You're not doing this. It's happening, and the more you see it happening, the less you identify with it. The story of me becomes transparent. Just another phenomenon arising and passing. No more real or important than a sensation in your foot or a sound in the distance. And As identification weakens, suffering weakens. Because suffering requires believing you are the one experiencing it. When that belief dissolves, what's left? Just sensations, just thoughts, just experience flowing, some pleasant, some unpleasant, but none of it personal, none of it yours, none of it happening to a you. This is the freedom Buddha discovered. Not freedom from experience, but freedom from the illusion that experience is happening to a separate self. Buddha also taught something most people misunderstand: detachment. Westerners hear detachment and think coldness, indifference, not caring. That's not what Buddha meant. Detachment is the absence of grasping. You can fully engage with life, fully experience emotions, fully love people, but without the desperate clutching, without the need for things to be different than they are, without the fear of loss poisoning the present moment. This is what Buddha meant when he spoke about equanimity, not indifference, but a deep okayness with reality as it is. You can prefer things to be certain ways. You can work toward goals. You can care deeply, but there's no suffering, because suffering comes from resistance, from demanding reality conform to your preferences. And when that demanding stops, what remains is peace, regardless of circumstances, regardless of what's happening, regardless of whether you're experiencing pleasure or pain, success or failure, life or death. Buddha lived this. He spent 45 years after his enlightenment teaching, walking from village to village, sleeping under trees, eating one meal a day from whatever was offered. He experienced hunger, exhaustion, criticism, betrayal, physical illness, all the conditions that cause suffering in normal people. But he wasn't suffering, because he wasn't resisting any of it, wasn't demanding it be different, wasn't identifying with the body-mind experiencing it, just allowing it all to arise and pass, like weather moving through empty sky. The sky doesn't fight the weather, doesn't prefer sunny days over rainy ones, just allows everything to move through. That's enlightenment, not the absence of experience, but the absence of the one who would suffer the experience. Now, here's the part that bothers people. Buddha's teaching requires renunciation, not necessarily monastic renunciation, but psychological renunciation, letting go of the belief that worldly success will bring lasting satisfaction, that relationships will complete you, that achievements will make you worthy, that pleasure will make you happy, that any conditioned thing can give you what you're actually seeking. This doesn't mean you can't have relationships, can't work, can't enjoy things, but you hold them lightly. You recognize them as temporary, as ultimately unable to satisfy the deepest longing. And you stop putting your peace in their hands. Stop making your well-being dependent on them. This is what Buddha meant by letting go of everything. Not physical letting go, psychological letting go, the inner grasping, the desperate clinging, the belief that you need anything outside yourself to be okay. And when you let go of that belief, something shocking happens. You discover that you're already okay, always have been. The peace you were seeking was never in the future, never dependent on circumstances, never something to achieve. It was always here, obscured by the grasping, hidden by the resistance, covered by the constant mental movement toward pleasure and away from pain. But when that movement stops, even for a moment, you taste it, the unconditioned, the unborn, the deathless, Buddha's words for the reality beyond suffering. And once you taste it, you can't forget it. You know it's possible. You know it's real. You know the path works, and you keep practicing, not to get somewhere, but to remove the obstacles to what's already here. Buddha also taught something radical about compassion. True compassion, according to Buddha, comes from seeing no self. When you recognize that there's no separate self in you, you simultaneously recognize there's no separate self in anyone else. Just phenomena arising and passing. Just consciousness experiencing itself in countless forms, all equally empty of inherent self-nature. This recognition naturally produces compassion, because harm to another is just harm to this one process of consciousness. There's no real boundary between self and other. So, causing suffering anywhere is causing suffering everywhere. And ending suffering anywhere is ending suffering everywhere. This is why enlightened beings naturally serve, not from obligation, not from guilt, but from the direct perception that there is no other to abandon, no self that would benefit from selfishness. Just this one reality, experiencing itself. And the more clearly you see that, the more naturally compassion flows. But Buddha was also clear about something uncomfortable. Most people aren't ready for this teaching. Most people aren't willing to let go. They want to keep the self and improve it, want to keep craving and just satisfy it better, want to keep suffering and just minimize it. They don't want liberation. They want better imprisonment, prettier chains, more comfortable delusion. And Buddha said, that's fine. The teaching is here for those who are ready, for those who have suffered enough that they're willing to look deeply, to question everything, to let go of everything, including the one doing the letting go. This is why he called his teaching a raft. You use it to cross the river, but once you've crossed, you don't carry the raft. You let it go too. Even the teaching itself must be abandoned. Even Buddhism must be transcended. Because in the end, there's no Buddha, no teaching, no path, no one walking it. Just this, just what is. Just reality being exactly what it is, without names, without concepts, without the illusion of a separate self interpreting it. Buddha died at 80 years old. His last words were, "All conditioned things are impermanent. Work out your liberation with diligence. Not believe what I say, not worship me, not preserve my teachings forever, but practice, verify, test it yourself." And his final instruction was to let him go too. Don't make an authority out of me. Don't put your faith in me. Put it in your own direct experience, in your own capacity to see clearly, in your own potential for liberation. Because I can't free you. No one can free you. You free yourself by seeing that there's no one to free. That bondage was always imaginary. That suffering was always based on a mistake. That you are not what you think you are. And that what you actually are has never been bound, has never suffered, has never been born, will never die, is beyond all conditions, beyond all concepts, beyond all words. 2,500 years later, we still haven't absorbed what Buddha taught. We've turned his teaching into religion, into belief systems, into rituals and ceremonies and prayers. We've made an identity out of being Buddhist, a self out of being spiritual, a pride out of being enlightened, missing the entire point. Buddha wasn't offering you a new identity. He was showing you that identity itself is the problem. He wasn't giving you something to believe. He was showing you that belief is another form of grasping. He wasn't teaching you to be a better person. He was showing you that the person is illusory. And when the illusion is seen, there's no one left to be better or worse. Just this flowing process of experience. Just life living itself. Just consciousness aware of itself. No center, no boundary, no self, no other, no suffering. This is what Buddha discovered under that tree. This is what he taught for 45 years. This is what gets lost in mindfulness apps and corporate meditation programs and Western Buddhism adapted to make you more productive. The original teaching is too radical for that, too complete, too uncompromising. It doesn't promise to make you happier. It promises to show you that the you who wants to be happier doesn't exist. It doesn't offer peace through better circumstances. It offers peace through seeing that circumstances don't matter. It doesn't give you tools to improve your life. It shows you that life is impersonal, and that what you think of as your life is a story, consciousness is telling itself. And when you see through the story, the need for improvement disappears, because there's no one to improve, never was. The entire project of becoming was based on misunderstanding, and the only solution is to stop, to see, to let go, completely, including the one who would let go. If this teaching resonates with something in you, if you feel the weight of carrying a self that might not exist, if you're tired of suffering and ready to look deeper than comfort and coping, then subscribe to the Hidden Codex. Because we don't offer easy answers here. We explore the teachings that actually transform, the wisdom that frightens before it frees, the truth that destroys before it liberates. Next time, we'll go even deeper into something darker, something that makes Buddha's teaching look gentle. Until then, sit with what you've heard, not to believe it, not to reject it, but to test it. Look at your experience right now. Is there really a self, or just thoughts claiming to be you? Is there really suffering, or just resistance to what is? Is there really someone who needs to be free? Or is freedom the recognition that there was never anyone bound? These aren't rhetorical questions. They're invitations to look, really look, and see what Buddha saw, that the end of suffering isn't far away, isn't in the future, isn't conditional on anything. It's here, now, in the seeing, in the letting go, in the recognition that you never needed to become anything, because what you are has always been complete, always been free, always been beyond suffering. You just forgot. And Buddha's teaching is the reminder, not to believe, but to see for yourself.